Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming and choosing to listen to my presentation. Today I'm presenting my honors thesis, How Can Social Emotional Learning Support Student Teachers in Their Practicum Experience? I chose my topic in the fall of 2019, not knowing that the following semester our world would be turned upside down. In times like what we're facing today, social emotional learning has never been more needed. My hope is that by the end of this presentation, you will have a better understanding of why SEL is so important and how it can help both you as an educator and your present or future students. Before I begin discussing my research, I'd like to give you a little background about myself. I'm in my last semester of my senior year, and I've been studying elementary education with a minor in neuroscience, cognition, and behavior. Since about 4th grade, I always knew I wanted to become a teacher. I have a passion for both learning and teaching, but my greatest fear and struggle during my pre-practicum placements has always been dealing with classroom management, especially behavior management, which is why I chose my NBC minor. When I was choosing the topic of my research, I knew I wanted to find something that I wanted to learn more about and that would help me become a better educator. At the time I needed to choose my topic, I was completing one of my pre-practicum placements in a school that implemented a research-based SEL program called Responsive Classroom. I was amazed by the school and classroom culture and environment and had never been in a classroom with such little need for constant behavior management. Students had such a strong work ethic, they problem-solved, and they listened to and respected one another. My supervising practitioner was such a great teacher, but he credited a lot of the students' progress to the SEL program he implemented. After learning about it, I knew then that that's what I wanted to research more about. During my research, I came across a shocking statistic. 40 to 50% of new teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years of teaching. Knowing I'll be beginning my teaching career hopefully this fall, knowing that there's a 50% chance that I'll end up leaving the profession was very discouraging. I needed to know why so many teachers left, which led me to research about the factors that led them to resign. There are many different factors that ultimately led many teachers to resign, such as too heavy of a workload, lack of support from administration, unfair salaries, and difficulties with classroom management. Many of these factors cause stressful working environments and can contribute to the job dissatisfaction among educators. Of all these factors, however, classroom management is one area that teachers themselves have the most influence over. It's important that novice teachers are confident and experienced with dealing with classroom management because it will help to limit the amount of stress during their beginning years of teaching. In order to feel that way, though, they must be able to learn and practice implementing best practices during student teaching in order to become prepared for what's ahead. With that being said, it's unfortunate that classroom management is actually the most underdeveloped area of teacher education. Similarly, many student teachers agree that they feel the least prepared in the area of classroom management. Unfortunately, the reality is that student teachers are guests in their supervising practitioner's classroom. There will likely already be systems in place that the student teacher will just have to adopt whether or not they agree with that style of management. It's essential that student teachers have as many opportunities as possible to practice implementing their own management plans in order to become prepared for their own classroom. At this point, you might be wondering why classroom management is so important, and it's because In his book, The Teacher's Pocket Guide for Effective Classroom Management, Tim Noster identified the 3 keys to effective classroom management, which are building rapport, establishing clear expectations, and providing positive reinforcement for expected behaviors. Many of his ideas helped inspire me to decide to come up with some sort of guidebook of my own that would feature classroom management tips that student teachers could use to help them during their practicum experience. Toward the end of my presentation, I will be sharing some of my favorite ideas from my guidebook. Noster described that effective classroom management should consist of 80% prevention and only 20% intervention. It's important to realize that it is not possible to prevent all problem behaviors from happening. We can't control our students' behavior, but we can help them learn to control themselves. This is where SEL comes into play. Yes, teaching academics is obviously important, but moving forward, we need to put more emphasis on the importance of social-emotional skills as well. If students' needs aren't met, that's when problem behaviors happen, which takes away precious learning time. One key player in SEL is Daniel Goleman, who identified 4 essential social-emotional skills everyone needs daily: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship skills. He was also a co-founder of CASTLE, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. CASTLE is the leader of providing the latest, most current evidence-based information on anything and everything SEL. Their goal is to help SEL become a part of every student's education. Their website is loaded with great resources, and I encourage you to take a look. They even include an extensive evaluation based on multiple criteria of all the SEL programs that are used in schools and classrooms today. So again, teacher resignation is at an all-time high, with one of those reasons being that many educators have difficulty with classroom management. Similarly, most student teachers feel the least prepared in that area of teaching. In my research, I have found that incorporating SEL into your classroom management plans will help to prevent problem behaviors, which will help to limit the added stress that eventually leads many teachers to leave the profession altogether. If student teachers are able to practice implementing these strategies during their practicum, the hope is that they'll be better equipped to effectively manage their future classrooms. This led me to developing the creative piece of my thesis. I decided I wanted to create some type of booklet or tip sheet that student teachers like myself could use to help them survive the classroom management component of student teaching. During my research, I kept note of many of the best strategies for effective classroom management and read about how classrooms implement various SEL programs. I compiled, organized, and condensed what I believe to be the best and most realistic tips and ideas that student teachers could actually use without stepping too much on their supervising practitioner's toes. So I now present to you Surviving Student Teaching, Using Principles of Social Emotional Learning to Improve Classroom Management. Included in my booklet is a table of contents to help student teachers find specific areas of classroom management they wish to learn more about. Each number before the title of the section refers to the page number you can find the information on. For example, the section on building strong relationships can be found on page 5. Due to time purposes, I won't be able to go into great depth for each section, but I have highlighted some key tips or ideas that I definitely want to share with you. I encourage you to pause this presentation at any time to read through each of these key tips. This first page introduces what to expect in this guidebook and provides a rationale for why learning and practicing effective classroom management strategies is so important. Again, please pause if you'd like to read any of the pages in their entirety. Here I include quick, easy-to-remember tips about effective classroom management in general. On this page, I give my readers some important information about behavior so they can have a better understanding as to why students often behave the way they do. This page summarizes what SEL is and how it can help prevent problem behaviors and improve classroom management. Here I provide suggestions and ideas on how to build strong relationships or rapport with your students. Here I provide some tips on how to set clear expectations for your students. On this page, I describe that positive reinforcement is the best way to keep students to follow your expectations. On this page, I describe how to respond to misbehavior and suggest that instead of punishing students, maybe try to turn those situations into positive learning opportunities where students can actually learn from their mistakes. Here I suggest ways to learn more about the child development of the students you're working with. On these next pages, I discuss what you should do to prepare for your first day and how you should start and end each day. After taking in all that research, I decided to create my own reward system that would help me establish my identity in the classroom. I named it Secret Star Role Model, which aims to help students become better at self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and both relationship and responsible decision-making skills. I also knew I wanted to start and end each day on a positive note and respond to behavior in more of a responsive rather than reactive way. Over these past few weeks of implementation, I have noticed myself becoming more comfortable and confident with my classroom management skills, as well as an improvement in both the relationships I have with my students and the respect and trust they have towards me. So hopefully at this point you might be eager to know how it works. Because students need clear expectations, I decided on 5 to 6 positively stated at home and in school expectations that I wanted my students to follow. At my school, we are currently teaching with a hybrid model in which half of our students are at school and the other half live streams in from home. I encourage you to pause the presentation at any time to read through them. Now for the fun part. Each day, I randomly choose a student from school and at home to pay close attention to all day. Their names are written out on the back of a yellow star cutout that I hang face down on the whiteboard, nice and high so no one can take a sneak peek. Students know that I know who the secret student is, and throughout the day, I'll provide feedback about how well I think the student is doing following our expectations. If at the end of the day I feel as though the secret student has done such a great job being a role model, I'll have students guess who they think it is and why. This provides students opportunities to positively recognize their peers and also end the day on a high note. If students were nominated by their peers, they receive some form of positive reinforcement, such as a Jolly Rancher, Flow Up, or Copying Good ticket. After all that, I talk about all the examples of how I saw the student doing a great job during the day, and then I have the students do a drum roll and I reveal who the secret student was. They are rewarded with claps and cheers and flow-ups and Jolly Ranchers and a caught being good ticket. The students absolutely love it and are always reminding me and asking me if the star role model is doing a great job during the day. It's so easy to implement and, in my opinion, has had such a positive impact on my students' behavior and my confidence with dealing with classroom behavior management. Even my SP has been amazed by its results and plans to continue using it even after I leave. So that concludes my presentation. I hope you learned something new today or have been inspired to try something like Secret Star Role Model in your classroom one day. Before I end though, I'd like to give a special shout out to my incredible advisor, Dr. Lori Link, who has been nothing but supportive and patient with me throughout this process. This past year has been a difficult time for many, but with her encouragement, I was able to complete this project. I would also like to thank the Fitchburg State Honors Program and especially my advisor, Dr. Catherine Buell, for providing me with the materials and help I needed along the way. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. Please contact me via my email at lorne@student.fitchburgstate.edu. Again, thank you so much. I hope you were able to learn more about the importance of SEL in effective classroom management.